Welcome. This is Jacob Barr, and I'm with Lori, and this is the ProLife Team podcast. Welcome, Lori.
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you today.
So in this episode, we're going to talk about some fundraising events that you have put on, and they're unique. I don't think I've heard of any other clinics using these exact recipes for a fundraising event. So I wanted to, start off with, tell us about the Sip and See fundraising event. Like, what is it? How does it work? Tell us about what that is.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. We have an advisory council with a lot of creative women who have done a lot of events. But a Sip and See was one that we were introduced to, and that was when we were remodeling our facility. And we were to the point of needing, I wanted new furniture. So what we did is for each room, we made a list of the furniture we wanted and the cost. And so then we invited 30 strategic people we invited to come to what we called a Sip and See. So that was basically, having tea and water and snacks and having them come and walk through the building. And at that point, the building was empty. We were remodeling, we redid the floors, we added walls, we painted, just completely redid our building. And so the C was see what we're doing and what we still need. And I'm here to share with you in 45 minutes from 30 ladies, we raised all the money we needed. It was like $20,000 to finish our remodel and get all new furniture. So you could use a Sip and See for pretty much anything. If you open your center up and you just pray about the specific people you might want just strategically for a certain project or for your center. I really think getting people to your center to walk through your facility and actually see where you are and see the services you're offering is the most powerful thing you can do, so that they can then know where you are and what you're doing and what you need. So having your wish list ready so you can put it in their hands, even if they make a donation that day, or have an envelope they can mail back a donation specifically for what you need. I think it's important to have our homework done. That's why in each room, having on the outside the room exactly what we needed and what it cost, for people right away to be able to invest in what you're doing. It can be a fun thing. It can be an educational thing. It can raise awareness, but it can also raise some pretty strategic funds specifically for projects you may need to do.
So let's walk through this. So someone shows up at your clinic and they walk in the door, and then as they walk into a room, there's something on the wall, like a paper that lists out the items that you're looking to purchase for that room. Like what might that include in a given room? Like what might be on that list?
Yeah, we did some fun things too, because we had the list, but we also had little yellow sticky notes. And so, like for my office, I wanted a new desk, a new chair, a lamp, two chairs for if I was meeting with people, a side table, one of those artificial plants, a little credenza to put, any educational stuff that I do, TV.
Okay.
That was kind of stuff we were doing for we had the little yellow sticky notes. And so I'll never forget it. One of the donors pulled the sticky note for my chair. That was like $50.
Yeah.
He said, I want to buy this. And I want you to know that every time you sit in that chair, just know I'm praying for you.
Oh,
and
wow.
And she stayed in touch. And I let her know I've been sitting in that chair, but the significance of how people think as they're pulling those little yellow sticky notes off, they're also helping us accomplish getting the furniture and items that we need.
Wow. So essentially they'd walk into the room and then they would see sticky notes in certain spots identifying a chair. So there might be a sticky note right there somehow close to where the chair might be, I guess, or maybe it's on your folding chair or whatever you had before.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can be creative like that. And I think people really enjoy that. I mean, if we we need, and we did for some rooms, we need $1,200 total. That would get everything we need for this room. Some people just, well, two sisters came together and they gave 600 each, and they
Okay.
adopted a whole room. But what was neat is they could do a whole room, or they could just, if they couldn't do a whole room, but they could do part of a room, they could pull that sticky and still participate.
Wow, such a creative idea. I love how you know, sort of like making like a wish list for like when someone's getting married, they make their
Yeah.
list on targets, their bride, yeah, what was called the bridal you know, or
Registry. Yeah.
registry,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just sort of like taking that concept and applying it to real life with paper and sticky notes and putting
Yep.
down the amount that's there, and then letting people be creative with which ones they want to purchase for the center. That's a beautiful,
Yeah. And I
beautiful
think
idea.
people they like vision. Um, I'll never forget, we needed 21,000 to redo the floor.
Okay.
And we had someone that gave like the 7,000. I think we still needed 14,000.
Okay.
Anyway, a donor called because I had sent out an email. I never do crisis or whatever. It's never, if you don't do this, then we can't do this. I always say, here's an opportunity. God is moving. We are remodeling our facility. We want to look like a sorority house and fit in more with the students so they're more comfortable. Anyway, so when the donor called, she said, I got your email. Tell me about your floor. So I was telling her we wanted to do all wood floors. We wanted to get rid of the old carpet that was stained and worn down. And we just wanted it. If we're sharing that God is our provision, then we
Mm-hmm.
should be able to show God is our provision. And what we had was not showing that. So I'm sharing with her that we wanted to reach more college students. We're right there at the University of Texas. And that's why this remodel was so important anyway. After I was finished sharing with her the vision of what we were doing and what we wanted to accomplish, and I think that's important because what her response was, well, I was going to give 10,000, but because you've shared and I see the vision, I'm just going to take care of the rest of it. I'll send you 14,000. You'll have it tomorrow. So again, I think it's not just about we're raising money. It's about giving people an opportunity to invest and giving them the vision as to why. Why are they investing? We want to reach future generations. We want to reach the college students. We want to not only reach them if they're in a crisis pregnancy, but we want to reach them to mentor them to lead in this issue further than we've ever gone. And by where we are and by setting up our facility correctly, we can do that. And when she saw that, she's like, done. I'll send you what you need. So I
Yeah.
think that's important.
And I remember visiting your center. I remember seeing some things on the wall that reflected this sip and see concept, and you
Yes.
had some pieces set up. And I was just super impressed that it had the exact items you wanted to have purchased. It had the amount, and it just reflected like we have a vision for where we want to be, and we're just asking for people to fund these puzzle pieces that we're trying to acquire to have a fully, to fully build out this room as we've planned and poured poured time into like creating where we're going, the roadmap.
Yes.
Um, and it sounds like people, yeah, so people have enjoyed the fact that you provided planning, you know where you're going, and it sounds like this is even a fun event. Like people have enjoyed this experience.
Yeah.
How, have you used this event, a few times, or is it how many times have you been able to use this as part of your development work
Uh,
for Trotter House? And
I think we've used it probably three times.
okay.
We used it again in our Cedar Park location. We opened another location last year, and
Oh,
we did the
okay.
same thing. We were offered actually a break room at a facility, and They just said, this is all the space we have, but if you can turn it into a pregnancy center, you can have it. So we did the same thing, because it ended up costing about 15,000 to
Yeah.
remodel and put walls in and change a bathroom and all this stuff for a break room into a pregnancy center. And so we did the same thing, but I'm here to tell you, we started on that project in January and we were done by March, and it was paid for.
Interesting. So I was talking a few months ago with a center in San Bernardino, California, about one of our ideas, which is to have they were remodeling one of their rooms. They're a boardroom or like a conference room, and we were talking about the idea of using one of the walls to put a backdrop, like for a photography studio backdrop that can be pulled down, to install a few lights connected to the ceiling, and then to have like a basket and a blanket and a few props for taking professional baby photos, and then having a 10-year-old really high quality camera. So it's like $600, but yet it takes really good photos, just like it did 10 years ago, kind of camera, versus one that's like 2,500 or 3,000 today that takes even better photos, but only by like a small margin. Anyways, so we essentially built out this plan for their room that's like $1,500, really not that much for having a professional photography studio. And we sent them like the list. Like, to me, I just feel like, having the plan is so important, more so than just trying to raise money for raising money's sake. It just feels so ambiguous. But to actually know, like, there's so much excitement built with like, here's what we need. And then there's excitement in like why and what it's going to produce, like why we need it, and like how we can use this. Because the idea behind the professional backdrop, light, camera, was twofold. One was because we could then offer professional photos to the women after their baby's been born, to honor her and gift her with professional photos. And then the people who are working at the clinic, the staff, the team, the volunteers will get to essentially it's one more reason for the mom to come back with her baby, and the baby will be dressed up because of the photos. And so it's a way to honor them as they catch glimpses of the staging and the photography pieces. And then it encourages the donors, because, well, I mean, step back. So after the photos when they're being taken, or after they're taken, we could essentially, the next step is to ask the mom for permission to be able to share these photos on the donor facing social media accounts. And the mom is going to be super excited, loving to show off pictures of her, these professional photos of the baby. And so we're expecting that there'll be a high number of people who say yes. And then those photos could be shared on Facebook and, the donor facing social media pages, in order to encourage, like, here's the fruit of your prayers and your donations and volunteer, like, look at this beautiful mom and her wonderful, precious young, baby girl or boy. And just simply showing these photos there, I think, is a huge blessing and encouragement for people to, just to be, to see the fruit of their efforts and investments and work, to help intervene. And so anyways, all that to say is, like, I feel like that, and having that list is super exciting, because you can, to know that, to know that the executive director is going to sit in this chair every day, and that my $50 investment is going towards, comfort and support of this very important person making a difference in my community. And then the fact that I can then think about that and pray, like, that's a beautiful, and the person actually, I think it sounds like they volunteered that part of praying for you regularly.
Yes.
And so anyway, that's just very exciting to show. I think there's excitement in showing that planning, because they can see, they can get excited about what's going to come from that investment, because they already know how it's going to be used before they even invest.
That's right. And they also become part of it, right? They become part of that plan, because without them, without her $50, that chair may not be there, and her prayer. And so the ownership of, I think it's real important that we have open hands, right? It's really God's ministry. and the ownership of his body to make it be what he desires our centers to be versus what we think it should be.
Awesome. Well, so there's another event that I remember you sharing a bit about before in a previous talk. It was called the pop-up marketplace. I wanted to highlight that idea as well in this podcast. So tell us, like, how does that work? Like, what is it? And how, what's it like for someone to participate or to visit and donate at this kind of event?
Oh, the pop-up marketplace is really fun. One of our advisory council members, it was her idea. But basically, the way you do a pop-up marketplace is you invite vendors, and vendors love to go anywhere to show what their creative thing is that they sell. For us, the first time we didn't, a lot of times vendors, you charge a certain amount for a space. We didn't our
Okay.
first one. We just wanted to invite vendors, and we probably had 25 to 30 vendors around
Okay.
our center that came that day. One, I'll never forget, her vendor, what she sells are croutons, different
Okay.
flavored croutons. And she raised like $700 just selling croutons. It was fun because everybody went by the crouton table. Anyway, you can encourage. First, you can, if you want, you can ask the vendors for a certain amount to come display, with a table. Second, you can ask, and we did ask, if they would give like 10% of whatever they sell back to the center. So it becomes a fundraiser, but it's fun. And everybody was checking out everybody else's stuff. One lady, she sells socks. They're called pop socks. Anyway, they have magnets in them. And so they're supposed to help you with your circulation and stuff.
Oh,
But they
okay.
were all decorated and they were made out of bamboo and just creative. The people that
Wow.
have vendor displays are usually very creative people. They have all kinds of creative things. Of course, we had clothing, we had jewelry, different kinds of vendors. We had food on the front porch. So, when people came through to check out the vendors, they could get them a snack and a bottle of water and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a great, again, awareness, bringing awareness to the work that you do in a fun way. I think our work is so serious that it's important to be able to laugh and be lighter attitudes. And also it was raising funds. Again, you could make money by offering the space for a certain amount of money, and they're used to spending money for a space. And if they want to get their whatever their service or the product they're selling out, they're willing to do that. And then if they give a certain percentage of the sales, like the $700 of croutons, $70 came back to the center. The vendor person they're making money, but they're also contributing to help the work that you do. And we just had a fun day, and we had about 300 people that came through that day, just
Okay.
checking out people from the neighborhood. We advertised with our donors. We had donors come through and just having fun. We had music playing and, like I said, the snacks, and all of it was for a good thing. It was a win-win. And I really like the win-win because I know people are in business to make money. And I like to, again, I look at what can I contribute to what they're doing? What can I add? And then of course it's a win-win because then they're giving back to what we need.
How many hours was the event take place for? Is it like a 4-hour event or did it go longer than that?
It went longer than that, but it can be whatever time frame you desire. I think we got
Okay.
there at 9 and we wrapped up around 3, 4, something like that.
And was
Yeah.
it mostly outdoors because of the number of tables and everything? That's a lot of space to put
Yeah.
up 30 tables.
Yeah,
Um,
it was.
where did the
I've got a
tables, were
picture.
those brought by, did your group have the tables or did you have to rent the tables or,
No,
connect with
we
the
actually
church?
partnered with the church. Yeah.
Okay.
So we didn't have to. And then our volunteers helped get the tables from the church to the center and back.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of work to move 30 tables. That's a good amount of
Well,
volunteer work.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, that sounds really, and then when it comes to advertising, did you use like an e-letter and social media, or how did you get the word out?
Well, we weren't real strong on social media at the time, although you could. We actually made little postcards and gave them to our advisory council and volunteers and all, and asked them to take it to their churches, to their
Ah,
families, and get the word out that way.
so you might have even connected with some new people who weren't previous, supporters or donors by, yeah, it was more of like, yeah, included.
Yeah.
And do you think that, what was what kind of, so you said she had 300 people that
Yeah.
came.
Yeah.
What was the age range? Like, were there families or was it mostly adults or?
We did have families coming through. We had a few from foundations, just connections that some of our volunteers had, and they did come through. So that was
Okay.
neat. Being where we are, we had college students. Some of the students from the sorority next door wanted to see what we were doing. And so they walked through and they ended up becoming volunteers,
Oh,
which is great because we love having
oh,
the
that's
college
amazing.
students volunteer with us. Yeah. Yeah. So it was a great opportunity to really reach out and enlarge our territory.
How did the local sorority hear about it? Did they see
They
the
just saw
setup
it.
or did they
Yeah.
just saw it being set up outdoors, I suppose?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, a
wow.
lot of the students walk and they'll run, exercising, walk their dog. So students are out all over the place. And when they
Okay.
saw, and we had the music going and they saw food, food always helps with college students.
Yeah.
Um, they wanted to come check us out.
So it sounds like it's beneficial to have it located at the clinic more so than
Yes.
like on a indoor facility at a church, because that way local neighbors will get to see that there's some traffic
Mhm.
and an outdoor event around the clinic, and that's, yeah. Otherwise, the sorority, the women at the sorority wouldn't have seen it set
Right.
up if it was set up like at an indoor gymnasium
Yeah.
somewhere else. It wouldn't have had that local exposure. So that's interesting.
Well, I think the more you can get people in your facility and see how you're set up and what you do as even an education as you're giving them a tour, it's real important because a lot of times people have never been to a center. They don't really know for sure what we do. And when you walk them through and you show them each room and what you do, then they can really see what you're doing. Like I'm going to be able to share at a church for Mother's Day. The pastor's giving me the whole service on Mother's Day for 2 services. And he is offering that we set up more than one table. And I haven't had a pastor offer this before, but I think it's a great idea because we're going to set up 7 tables at the church. So after I get to share, and like
Wow.
I said, I get 20 minutes in each service. When they leave the sanctuary, they're going to see 7 tables. It's all Trotter House, but each table represents a different service we do. So one table is going to be prayer. One table is going to be advisory council and board. One table is going to be life skills and Trotter Health. So all the different, one table is going to be pregnancy center, pregnancy tests and sonograms. So all the different pieces that it takes that we do, so they can see on a bigger scale all the parts that make the pregnancy center function.
Wow. That's, yeah, essentially, it just sounds like it's such a smart idea to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
more, because you probably have, how many volunteers supported those 7 tables?
Yes, I'll have at least 2 volunteers at each table. And
Okay.
I have one of the clients coming to share her testimony with her daughter. So we're going to have a good team there to share. They're going to kick off the baby
Awesome.
bottle campaign. And but in addition to giving the baby bottles out, this pastor also, he said a huge percentage of their giving has gone to being digital, online giving. He said 38% of their giving is online now, sometimes 50%. So because they'll be in person and virtual, we've created a QR code for that baby bottle campaign. So when they're going to show that and have cards at every seat. So at the end, he's going to encourage people to give, but he's going to run the campaign for 2 weeks after Mother's Day as well. So who
Okay.
knows what God will do with that, but that will spread us out huge in a lot of different ways.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Going back to the pop-up marketplace, when the two local sorority ladies, when they walked up, did they end up taking a tour of
They
your
did.
clinic as part of like their like exploring like who their neighbor was?
Yeah, they did. And they were both nursing students. And so
Okay.
when they
Oh,
saw our pregnancy test
oh
and
my goodness.
sonogram
What a
room,
interesting connection to have a
yeah,
future nurse volunteer possibly.
yeah, yeah, it was very exciting. And, it fit perfectly for their studies, what they were studying. So,
Oh, that's awesome. So, and I guess that, yeah, that's, how many people ended up taking a tour? Like, what
oh,
percent out of the 300 who came? I'm guessing a lot of them may have wanted to
mhm,
check out the clinic, and it's a really good way to get people there and invite them
yeah,
in to walk around and see the vision and mission.
yes, huge, huge number of, well, we had a whole lot of new people. So I would say probably 75%
Wow.
came through for a tour from that 300. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah.
Is that the most tours you've ever given in a single
In
day?
one day. In one day, yes. Of
Yeah,
course,
because like
when we
that's
opened, we did what do you call grand opening with pastors who prayed to start our center. But we
okay.
had 500 people come through that day,
Oh,
just
wow. That's a lot of
excited
tours. That's a lot
and
of people.
yeah,
That's amazing.
that day too. But that was a come and go all day long grand opening too.
Okay. And I guess that's the benefit of having an event that goes from, mid-morning to mid-afternoon so that you have
Yeah.
room and space to give
Yeah.
that number of tours. Because if there's 300 people there for just 2 hours,
Yeah.
it'd be really hard to give tours to 75%. But yeah, by that being like a 6 hour or whatever it is event, there's a
Yeah.
lot more space for. I bet your team. How many tour guides? Who are the tour guides, and how many tour
Yeah.
guides did you have?
Well, one thing we did was have the people in the rooms that maybe that's their office, like the life skills. Deidre was in her room, Tabitha was in
Okay.
her room, Roxanne was in her room. So we could just walk through and then each person in the room could say what they do. So it
Okay.
really, that was fun too, because it involved more people than just one person, or all the tours were
Yeah.
consistent. All the person had to do was just walk them to the rooms and then the people could tell them what they do.
Oh, that's good. And we've been shopping for a new Christian school for our kids, and we visited one yesterday. And as we walk into a classroom, that's how it also works there. The teacher introduces and engages with us and shares, ideas that they're using to teach the kids. And so I think that's a really good idea. So, the tour guide brings someone to the room, but then the person in that room gets to fill in the story. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, having multiple voices and in
Yeah.
order to build this experience for the people who are visiting.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing these beautiful, stories and event ideas, and I just think I'm excited to see. Oh, before we wrap this up, though, there's a Bible verse that we had picked out based on discussing before. It's Psalms 24, and so it reads, "May He give you the desire of your heart and make all your plans succeed." How would you say, when it comes to that verse, "May He give you the desire of your heart and make all your plans succeed"? How would you say that reflects on this event work or the event work you're doing, or the different work you're doing for Trotter House? How do you look at that verse or lean on that verse?
Well, I see it as another promise, because as we spend time with him, we stay in an unceasing attitude of prayer, our hearts become, I see it as his heart, right? I was sharing with the pastor the other day, the life issue is the heart of God. It is. And he agreed with me that God creates life and he desires for eternal life, right? So that's what we're doing. And so as that becomes our heart's desire, then God moves in and sees that those desires are successful, that he brings it around to accomplish what we desire for it to do. So I see so many of the planning scriptures that say, so that you may succeed or so that you may prosper, as powerful as we submit it to him, we have the confidence that it will succeed.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, and I think that these stories and event ideas will be a blessing to pregnancy clinics across the country as they see a new way to connect with people in their community, as they see another option for how to fundraise and just grow their life-minded support community, and growing awareness in their local neighborhood or area as well. So these are some really good ideas. I appreciate you sharing these, Lori. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation down the road.
Yes, me too. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate it.
Awesome.